Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I'm Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. I am a holistic money coach, financial behavior specialist, and financial literacy educator. I recently launched a do-it-yourself personal finance 101 online course with 25 mini lessons on the practical and emotional sides of money. And it comes with a membership site where you get to learn, practice, connect, and receive support for an entire year. You can read all of the details at sfmoneycoach.com/membership. Please join me today in welcoming our guest, Donna Otmani. Donna and I met through mutual friends and colleagues in New York City. I'll never forget that lunch. She is a coach, mentor, facilitator, and recovering Wonder Woman. She has a master's degree in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica, where she also completed courses in soul-centered leadership and soul-centered professional coaching. Her coaching and courses educate and guide individuals to approach life from the soul-centered context, so they can move from fear to trust, disempowerment to empowerment, from struggle to ease, and from dissatisfaction to fulfillment. She's joined me today to talk about the soul-centered opportunity of money. Welcome, Donna.
Oh my gosh, welcome. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun and on the mark today to start with a visualization from you. Will you help us tune into our true selves so we can relate with money today from that place?
Absolutely. So, and thank you for inviting me to do this, because this is how I start all my client sessions when I work one-on-one with people, and even when I lead groups. Is what we're going to do is I call it like a grounding meditation. And it's just really an opportunity to step out of like our everyday busyness, our thoughts, all that goes along in our brains. And it invites us into the space of attuning to the soul center perspective. And when I say that, I mean like listening to our inner guidance, being in touch with our authentic selves, the part of us that is divine and wise and connected to all that is. And it's kind of hard to get there sometimes from the busy mind chatter. So it's I do use certain language that may be not a fit for some people. I will use the word God. I talk about angels and things like that. So I just really invite everyone that's listening to give it a shot. Disregard whatever doesn't work for you, take what does, and really just take the opportunity. It's really just about tuning in. So are you ready? We'll go ahead and do it.
Got it. Yes.
That's beautiful. So since you're here with me now, and for anyone that's listening, I just invite everyone to get relaxed in their chair a little bit more. Just maybe lean back so that they can feel the support of the chair. They can feel the support of the floor, or however, wherever you're sitting, just noticing that you're being held, and maybe just stretching any parts of your body that could use a little bit more space or relaxation so you can be even more present. And just let go of anything that was happening prior to this moment. Letting go of anything that's coming up later in your day, knowing you can pick it up on the other side of this meditation. And let's go ahead and take a deep breath in together and let it out. Beautiful. And dear Father, Mother God, we ask for the clearing. We are so grateful to be here today in service to all those who want to learn more about the soul-centered approach to money. And we just ask that anything that can be lifted and cleared, anything that no longer serves us, be done so now with ease and grace. We also ask that anything that would be of value for us to deepen in, anything that would connect us even more to that place of peace inside, anything that would connect us more to just attuning to our real truth, anything that would connect us to the experience of just being really held by life, held by others in our lives, whatever that might be, we just avail ourselves to that today. And then we call upon all those that walk with us on this journey. By that, I mean any of our angels, guides, ancestors, ancestresses that work with us, just really availing ourselves like we do not walk this journey alone, that there is divine support always available to us that could come through insights or flashes of inspiration, ideas, signs. Just it's very, it's just an opportunity for us to lean into that divine support that is always with us. And so as we move through today's conversation with Carrie, we just remind everybody listening that this is just an opportunity to attune to what is resonating with you, to allow new information to come in, or allow yourself to let go of some old ideas that no longer serve you, and just attune, allow, and align. Like align yourself, like when we align with our truth, with what really is for our highest good, there can be more grace, more ease, even in the area of our finances. And so we just give deep thanks for coming together today. And we just are excited for this opportunity. For all this and so much more, we are so grateful. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. Okay, so let's jump in. Would you do us the honor and share a little bit about your background and family history around money?
Oh.
I know it's a big one.
I'm like, no, actually, I mean, honestly, money has been such an area of growth and opportunity for me. I grew up in Northeastern Pennsylvania, grew up in, I'm so grateful, my parents, both high school graduates, were really clear they wanted me and my sisters to go to college. They were like, we want our kids to get a great education and go on to college so that we could do even better financially and in many, have more opportunities than they both had. Mm-hmm. So they moved us to this wonderful school district in, it was one of the best school districts in our area. And it was a very wealthy area. And we were not wealthy. We lived, we lived in a cute little, we were middle class, maybe a little bit lower middle class, lived in this cute neighborhood, but we were really surrounded by a lot of wealth. And so, I feel like one of the things that I've been working through on my own journey was, as a little kid, seeing that distinction, growing up with friends that, got cars on their 16th birthday, or would have, all these new clothes that were all name brands, some with tags still on it, sitting around that they, that they might not even wear and gets passed on to like other people. When, we weren't experiencing that, we didn't have our own cars and things like that. So I spent a lot of time, I think as a kid, and I grew up Catholic. I don't know, a lot of people maybe listening grew up Catholic. But for me, one of the things so as I was trying to make sense of like, well, why does my family not have a lot of money and these people do? I made some decision back then that it must have something to do with us not being chosen or favored, or, in the Catholic linear, whatever, the Bible, I don't know where it says this, but the messaging I took in was like, those that are good are blessed, or those that are, pure or blessed, or whatever it might be. And so somehow I started carrying around that story that or I made that decision because I was trying to figure it out. So I did the best that I could back then. And I think unconsciously just started going like, well, I guess we're not meant to have money, or there's something, as being a member of this family means, we're not chosen, and therefore I'm probably gonna not do that great financially. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that was a part of my story for a long time. And at times I still have to work with that as I hit new levels in my business or whatever. I still have to kind of be conscious of that I'm running those, those old unconscious beliefs.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for just jumping in and sharing that. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, but it's coming to mind in this moment, which is, do you have a most joyful or happiest money memory from your life?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do I have a happy, joyful memory? Like from when I was younger? Oh my God, that's so crazy. I'm like, I don't know. Well, I will say recently I hit a milestone with a client, and the amount that she paid me was the amount at one point, which is what I earned in a year.
There you go.
And I was like, I remember standing outside the bank and I was like, what? Like, you know, like thinking back to that time in my life when I earned that amount.
Yes.
Was such like, to earn that amount of money was a lot of like, oh, I worked in retail. So it was overnights and managing lots of people and stress and constantly on. And sometimes I'd work, you know, morning shift and evening shift. And I was married at the time, and he was mad that I was always working, and like to earn that amount of money. And now it's like to earn that amount of money and doing work that I love and doing work that's transformative, and that like where I have a lot of ease, a lot more ease in my life, really showed me the like juxtaposition of like how far I've come in my money work, like in my own sets of beliefs inside myself about what's possible and what it takes to earn good money.
Yeah. Oh, I want to hear more about that. I mean, what does it take in your mind?
You know, for me, it really is like, so in soul-centered education, so I have my degree in spiritual psychology. What I really learned, and I feel like when I went to, I always say this, when I went to the University of Santa Monica, I'm assuming I felt similar to how like Harry Potter found out, like when he was like, oh, I'm a wizard and there's ways of working with, like, I can get better at, I can learn magic and I can cast spells, and I can, not that what I do is cast spells or anything like that, but it was this like sense of like, oh, there's a truth to it. It's like who I am is someone like at our natural states, we're abundant, we're peaceful, we are joyful, we're we you know, our work has meaning, our lives feel meaningful, there's space, like that's our natural state. And then between us and our natural state is a bunch of beliefs and cultural conditioning and family conditioning and all sorts of things that then, you know, create the life that we're actually living. And then we start to feel, but when we're living out of alignment with who we truly are, when I was living out of alignment with who I truly was, I was overwhelmed. I felt limited. I felt stuck. I felt disempowered. I felt dissatisfied. I felt irritated. I felt like all of those things.
I think we met around that time when you were overworking.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how else to describe it. It was, yeah.
My work was both, and it was like, I was both, you know, I think around that time, I was getting divorced. I was working full time. I was coaching on the side. I had my son 6 days a week out of 7. You know, he has ADHD. I'm handling all the stuff related to his like doctors and school. And like, I just was living as if I can't count on anyone.
Right.
I have to do it all myself. And this is even after my education, because all of this is like, you know, life is a continual series of evolution and growing and whatnot. And so all of that was, that life wasn't like what was, it was my life was like that because of how I thought, what I believed, and what I needed to work on. And to me, when we look at it from spiritual psychology, or why people even come to me, or why I went to grad school to get this, or work with coaches with this background, is because I know now that when life is reflecting to me some challenges, like when I'm having things that I'm dissatisfied with, or I feel frustrated with, or I'm hitting a limit in what I can believe is possible for myself, I know the work is in here. I know how to now go, oh, okay, this is part of my journey. Like, how am I going to work with this? Because it's a set of stories that I've told myself that keeps all of this in place. Right. So when I can, you know, it's like, one of the cool things, it's like anytime we're trying to change anything, like people who are coming and taking your classes are trying to change their relationship with money, right? And so you and I both know, if we're going to work on something, an outer world reality, like changing our finances or earning more, or saving more, or buying a house or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
If you have old beliefs and thought patterns that don't match that new belief, it's never going to stick. You're going to keep yo-yoing back and forth. So the work is not to keep trying to just change the outside. It's as you change the outside, you got to do the inner stuff too to keep up with it.
Totally. And by the way, congratulations about that milestone with the client. I meant to say, yay!
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, universe, and congrats, and you deserve it, and more to come. Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
what an
Thank
interesting experience. The perspective, like this is the number that I earned in a year at one time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in this life.
Yeah. And the cool thing was, this was like a really wacky idea that I'd been talking to another person who's also a coach, and what can I do? I'm kind of like feeling a little like I want to change, like I don't want to change what I'm doing, but I kind of want to do something a little more bold, a little different. And she's like, I heard this idea once about, you coach someone for life and they just pay one big fee and then you're coaching them for the rest of your life. And I was like, I want to do that. Can't just do that with anyone though. Like, it's like, it's got to be like the right person.
Yeah.
And I have someone in my life that I've worked with for 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, she's the one. And like, had such a fun process of like, even being in the Carrie, just even talking to you about it now, that I would even have, knowing that little girl and how she grew up, how I grew up, who believed she could never have great, it was like, I was always going to be limited, to then be like bold enough to be like, even offer it. And then to work with myself, to not be too attached to whether or not she said no, but to just be proud of myself for going for it. And then to have her say yes was like insane. It was so fun. It was so fun.
So fun. Oh my God. I love that idea. I've never heard of that.
We'll talk more. I'll tell you all about it.
Okay. So going way back to one of your earliest money memories, do you have a financial flashpoint from early childhood that you'd be willing to share?
I have two. Mm-hmm. One is, as you were asking me that, because I had one prepared, but then as you were asking me that, I was like, I remember my grandparents gave us these, they were like these piggy banks, and all the grandkids got one. I think there's like 26 of us grandkids. I think we all got one. And, it looked like a real bunny. And like, we got like was it a silver dollar at that time? Silver dollar?
Yes.
I think it was silver dollars. So we got like a silver dollar in the bank. I don't even know I don't have any other story attached to that, except that flashed in my mind when you were talking. And maybe it was because, first of all, I really loved the bank. It was so cute. It actually even had like kind of fur, like not real fur, but you know what I mean? Like it looked like a real bunny. And so that was cool. And just getting like the silver dollar felt so special and felt luxurious and as a kid, having your own money is always fun, so that was cool.
Totally. And oh my God, did I hear you correctly? 26 grandkids?
Yeah, my grandma and grandpa had 6 children, and every child had 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 children. So wow. I'm one of like a bazillion.
Yes, and I think it seems, I think I saw on social media you had a recent family reunion.
It was actually a celebration of life for one of my cousins who passed from metastatic breast cancer, but that's how we roll, is like there was like 60 of us in the picture, and like not everyone was there, but yeah, come from a big Lincoln family.
Sorry for your loss. Oh.
Thank you. Yeah.
And did you have another story about running errands or the paycheck day? What was that?
Yes. I mean, this one is still working me to a degree. It's so my dad worked at this big company in Erie where I grew up, and every Friday or every other Friday, I can't remember how often it was, at lunchtime, we would pull up in our one car, because I don't know how my dad got to work. I don't know if my mom drove him, but like we'd pull up at lunchtime to get his paycheck, go right to the bank so mom could pay the mortgage and then get money out. And then we'd go to like 3 or 4 different stores, the grocery store, there was a bread store. Why is there a bread store? There's like a produce store, but we were like going because there's certain things that were cheaper or whatever. And it was like the way it lived in me. So it both felt abundant, but I'm also really aware that it was like, why didn't we just wait till my dad could have brought it home with him and then we could have just cashed it on Monday? No, it was like, we need the money and we're going to go get it. And then we're going to spend it. And then we got to make it last the whole time. So that living paycheck to paycheck, we always have enough. We never struggle. Like, I don't ever remember us, like, we never did without, we never, but like, it was like, we were just making it. And that idea of having more than enough money or being able to wait or was like, is still something that I have to be conscious of. And I'm just starting to get even more focused on like, it's safe to have more than enough money. It actually feels really good. It feels decadent. I don't have to spend it all, or I could earn more than, and I could charge more than just what I need. Like, it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I know, just so it sounds like it did have a lasting impact. And it is interesting also because payday is one of the reasons people overspend. That's not the takeaway from your story, because it doesn't sound like it was overspending. It was just a needs basis where, the accounts had run lean, bills were due, and it was time to manage and control that. So that's what was happening. But yes, I don't know if you've heard about the 5 reasons people overspend. Well, one of them is not anticipating bigger ticket item non-monthly expenses like your birthday party or upcoming holidays or insurance payments, anticipating car repairs, which will probably happen at some point in a year. And so periodics or planning, just forgetting, oh, I forgot it's my grandma's birthday, or tuition is due, we register for camp in January, whatever the things are.
Right.
Planning, emotional spending, of course, retail therapy, we all do and come to at times. Payday, I always advise my clients, is not a great day to go shopping. Your situation was different, but with your parents and family of origin, because the money, it arrived direct deposit for a lot of people these days.
Yes.
The accounts inflate, but the more mindful, conscious approach is to understand and know and be connected enough that a lot of that money is spoken for, and easy does it, and to go out, for an expensive dinner or buy rounds or is not a great idea on a day. And then the 5th reason people overspend is simply by putting things on credit cards versus debit cards. So yes, that's a very slippery slope, and research has shown that people overspend by up to 25% with that choice in cards. So that additional tax, shall we call it, is not something most people can afford to do. So
right. Wow, I did not know those. That's really fascinating to learn. And even as you were saying that, it's like, if made me like look at like my own stuff with money, and it's like let's say when you were talking about retail therapy, so I'm like not big on like, oh, I'll go out shopping for clothes or whatever, but I will totally use like, I've got lots of money in the bank. I can order out every night this week, because as kids, eating out was like, we never did that.
Right.
Never. Like, it was always, we had to eat out. So part of it is like, as I'm trying to change behaviors, I can just try to be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna eat out because that doesn't fit in my budget. But when that part inside of me is like, you're not going to tell me what to do with my money, and I want to spend my money on, like, I want to go out, and I feel rich when I go out because I feel like I have enough money. And then now all of a sudden I'm blowing past my own boundaries of like what I've set out to do. So yeah, it's really fascinating, like how those parts inside of us like can keep us from having, if we don't know how to work with them, they can really derail us so quickly, and have derailed me and still derail me at times. Yeah.
Yes, because you're human and it's progress, not perfection. And there is a lot to be said for any kind of spiritual practice or way of stepping back, pausing, reflecting, seeing yourself, observing yourself. And meditation is the classic modality for this, observing the mind, just being with like the meaning making machine. And the nahapi is an Afrikaans word for jumping monkey. That's what we call my toddler. And the mind does that, right? It doesn't ever stop. And the idea isn't to not think, but it's to practice being equanimous, and rather than grasping or feeling aversion, it's just finding that center place. So as much as people can do that through fairly mundane routines, just showing up for the conversation, practicing, looking at your money, and without emotion. I mean, feelings are normal, natural, valid, but as steady and centered as you can remain, then financial decision making, conversations about your rate, asking for a lifetime, offering your services to a lifetime client become easier and easier over time. So
yeah. Can I add one thing to that? So I totally, here's the one thing I've never been good. And I'd love to get better, because hearing the way you just described meditation, I was like, wow, I probably should be doing that more, because I think that would be so helpful, just because you're right. There is that spot of like, can we get back to balance? And from a place in spiritual psychology, one way that we would describe that is that we have our higher self / authentic self, like who we truly are at our core. That's like unencumbered by all of this, like we talked about, all of the different things that are happening in that we've been cultured or conditioned, right? And then we have the ego part of ourselves. And the ego part of ourselves, the part that's loves to, that's like addicted to control, wants, to keep things balanced, that are maybe not balanced, but keep us in status quo because that feels at least comforting. It's known, whatever. It's the part of us that'll try to talk us out, comes up with doubts, fears. It's that part that runs the monkey mind, right? So in spiritual psychology, it's like using whatever's being reflected to us, especially when we have like patterns that keep showing up. So let's say it's this pattern of like, okay, I'm not going to eat out. I'm just going to save my money. I'm just going to put it in the bank account. And then like 3 days in, I'm like, forget it. And I'm just going to order out some ridiculous amount just because I don't want to cook.
Yeah.
So one way people do work with it is to just, okay, right, where am I coming from inside? But when we have a big pattern, like, cause this one's attached to like me feeling like not limited and not wanting to work, not wanting someone to tell me what to do, which is just me telling myself what to do. But if I can learn to just go, oh, there's a part of me inside that's really activated right now. How can I just be with that part of me? Like almost like the inner parenting thing. Some people get triggered by the inner parenting thing. So I also will say it's like being the wise friend to the part inside of you that's activated. And this happens to all of us, like even whether we like it or not,
100%.
Those parts come up, right? So the way I learn to work with that and the way I teach my clients is, it's like to like even imagine that they're here in front of you and like talk to them like as if they're actually here and being like, what do you need? And they're like, I want to be free. I don't want to save money. I just want to eat out. And you're like, yeah, I know. I really hear you. You don't want to work. You don't want to eat out. But right now we're up to saving money. And so we're not going to do that. And it's just like working with it versus trying to, it's there to help to get attention. And the more you can get the attention, then it stops coming forward and running rampant as much. In fact, I had a woman that, is it okay if I share another story?
Yes, keep going.
So I worked with a client that she was having a huge pattern of overspending, like online spending, going into debt, fighting with her husband, like could not stop herself. Should I go to, was trying 12 steps, nothing was working.
Yeah.
So when we started working together, we really she was able to finally identify that when that impulse was coming up, it really was like, she could see that it was like her like 4-year-old self whose mom and dad were always going on trips, and and she felt constantly ignored, constantly like not getting what she needed. And the only way that they showed love was through buying her stuff. And it sounds super like easy to know, but like it was so rampant that she could not get a handle on it.
Yeah.
So we started a practice where every day she pulled out a picture of herself at that age. She started dialoguing with that part. She started doing things like, that part would be like, I want ice cream. She'd take her out for ice cream and they'd spend time, she's like, I would just imagine giving her what she needed, which was mostly, I just want your attention. I want you to see me. I want you to be with me.
Yeah.
And as she did that, Carrie, her spending stopped.
Wow.
I don't know that it stopped completely, but it really, like, all of a sudden she was like, oh, I'm not, because it was like, as those parts get met, and it sounds a little trippy, but it's like, as that part inside got met and understood and got fulfilled, it did not need to be the kid tugging on the skirt or acting out to get attention. It was fulfilled. And therefore then it wasn't that she was managing the impulses. They weren't showing up anymore.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is totally profound. Well done. And it is miracle work, making those connections and acknowledging what is there, what is present, like the impulses and the cravings. Yeah, the activation, the dysregulation, like it's really hard to pause.
It is.
It's so hard because it kind of takes over. Like it's totally the brain and survival mode and like you said, acting out. But I'm so glad that she found you and that the work is working.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and again, it's the work that I had to do on myself too. So it is like this sense of taking a learning orientation to all of it. Cause like you said, the impulses, there's times where it's like the impulse is going to win, whatever, just gonna get its way. And then as soon as you can recognize it, you go, okay, let's go have a conversation now. What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. Like we don't have to expect, like you said, perfection from ourselves. It's like, as soon as we can, let's just catch it. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So please educate us. What is the soul-centered opportunity of money?
Yeah. Well, it's like what we've been talking about. To me, when we can look at what's showing up in our world, whatever it might be, could be in the area of money. Maybe it's recurring debt. Maybe it's like never, living paycheck to paycheck, whatever it might be, right? When we just look at it from physical world reality, and which is a very important part of this. So at no time during this conversation do I want anyone to have me to be thinking, I don't think that like this education work or learning tips and tools, that is all so important. Right. Physical world reality, money management, super important.
Yes.
What I work on is like, what's stopping me from having those things? Why do I not have them already? Why, despite saying I want it, am I continuously sabotaging myself? Or maybe I'm not sabotaging myself, but it's like every time I start to, get a little money in the bank and then that unexpected expense comes up or the medical bill or like an old tax something, it can be really confusing and can feel a lot like, it just feels like we need to just get a better handle on ourselves, right? So for me, it's like when we see these recurring patterns, if we can approach it from a soul-centered perspective, like, so in spiritual psychology, one of the premises is like, we're all divine beings having a human experience. And whatever is happening in our life, challenges, opportunities for growth, are part of our curriculum on this planet, part of what we're here to learn, we're here to master or move through or release or whatever.
Okay.
Because again, our essence is peacefulness, abundance, joy, meaningful, all of that stuff, right? Love.
Yeah.
So when we are sitting here and having challenges with money, I don't know about you and your journey with money specifically, but like, for me as a kid, one of the soul-centered opportunities was realizing I'm not like, God didn't just like, isn't punishing me by not having money. I can earn more than enough. It was a journey for me about like, I can trust that my needs are going to be met. So we each have a different story with that. For some, it might be, I don't know, Like that client that I had, her story with money, she was from a really wealthy family.
Mhm.
She was overspending. So her spiritual opportunity was like, or soul-centered opportunity was, I'm going to heal. Money is going to help me heal this really deep wound that I'm not loved or tended to.
Yeah.
So we want, when we can approach when we can approach money, and it could be, I'm saying money right now because of the conversation we're in, but could be about your body, could be about relationships, it could be in all the areas, because all of our life is here to teach us.
Mhm.
But it's like when we can approach it from that standpoint and really then work on what is outer reality. Like my outer reality is a reflection of my inner beliefs and experience.
Okay.
So if I want to look at what I actually believe, I look at what I actually am experiencing in my life.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my my soul-centered opportunities.
Do you want to share anything, or you're just
Well, yes, I mean, I really think I got into financial recovery and, which I now call financial wellness,
oh, I love that.
because I healed my body first on the yoga mat. So I had gained weight in my 20s, drinking, eating, urban living, all this type of stuff. Really, well, being on my own for the first time, and not having any practical life skills for how to manage all of that. And so I wasn't happy or confident in my body. And I was an assistant teacher, and my head teacher was really into Bikram yoga in San Francisco with Mary Jarvis. She's like world famous in that realm. And I went to that studio, and in no time, pounds shed, confidence increased.
Wow.
My posture changed. I walked differently.
Mm.
I needed a new wardrobe because it was a significant different size. And I was like, I mean, it was so amazing and transformative. I didn't stick with that style of yoga. It got too hot after a while, but do still practice today. And at that time, I was really struggling with money. I had no confidence. I was totally disempowered, no education. And one of the messages I received, being third of four kids and the younger daughter, there was an older brother, was that I wasn't good or smart enough, like that money wasn't any of my business.
Ooh, yeah.
Someone else handled everything, right?
Yeah.
And I was along for the ride. And even if there were important conversations or roles to delegate, it was to my older brother, who was 8 years older than me. And so at this time, though, I was like, well, if I can do that, like what happened on the yoga mat,
Right.
with relatively little effort, I mean, it was only like 6 months or something to have it change. I must be able to apply some of this willingness and honesty that I needed help to money. And that really got me into that. And I had to fake it till I made it. Oh man, for a few years, it was like really uncomfortable, super soul excavation,
Right.
deep work, extremely emotional, very cathartic, lots of letting go and self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, cleaning up past mistakes, making amends, a lot, and reading and writing and education and studying and practice and having a mentor. I mean, I really need that much help. And I learned how to do it. I learned how to do money. I learned how to be peaceful with money. And ultimately, that's my goal now, is to help other people feel happy and confident in their relationship with money. So
yes,
that's what came up from what you shared.
Yeah. And I just acknowledge you because it's funny, because I thought you were like wondering what your soul opportunity, and I was like, no, you really like, and sometimes that's what a soul opportunity looks like. It looks like, okay, I'm being taken in, like this is really presenting to me an opportunity to not just, I think a lot of times people, and I know it's not you, because again, even just the fact that you're using financial wellness and what you actually want people to feel versus like just getting a handle on their money or managing their money, like those words are from the ego realm, from the mind realm, and they can be an important piece of this, but in service to, like, when we learn to approach it and do that work, what's coming up? What do I need to release? Who do I need to forgive?
Yeah.
What's in the way? It's like what you were doing is like, it's almost like buying a plot of land to build a house.
Yeah.
Which you'll appreciate this, right? Like buying a plot of land, but it's covered in like forests and brambles or, whatever it is. And the first thing you have to do in order to build anything on it is to clear it.
Yeah.
And so that, once you can, and I remember what I used to get frustrated with in the early days of my, like, just personal growth and development or personal exploration was when people would be like, just journal on it. And I was like, I mean, just journal on it. I'm going to write it on a piece of paper. And that's a step, is to like journal about it. But then it's like, for things that are deep, like God doesn't love me, or, God loves other people more and gives them money. And so then therefore there's something wrong with me. That's not going to get handled in a journal. It might work. It starts the work to get up and out, but then what do you do with it? Like, how do you actually release, and for me, there's some things that you can just do that turn around, like, okay, I don't want to believe that anymore. So I'll just start believing that God loves me. But there's a space between God doesn't love me and God loves me. I'm using God a lot because this is my own experience, but everyone has their own.
Go with it.
Go with it. It's so funny. Talking about God is like the same taboo as talking about money and sex. Like,
right. Yes. Yeah.
And death. Exactly. I forgot about death. So it's interesting. Like, so for me, one of the things I learned, and you already mentioned it in your own growth and experience, is compassionate self-forgiveness is a way to, my teachers at the University of Santa Monica, Doctors Ron and Mary Hulnick, who are the founders of spiritual psychology, or the co-founders, they said, when we're doing healing, like, healing is actually the application of love to the parts inside of us that are hurting. Like, love, compassion, loving, gentleness is the key to releasing those beliefs. Because I don't know about you, but when I had money stuff, there was a lot of judgment on myself.
Totally.
And there was a lot of judgment on others. And there was a lot of like, why can't you just? And a lot of demanding, critical, judgmental energy, which then does what? Just keeps us stuck. We can't judge ourselves out of a behavior. People think they can, think criticism and being mean to themselves and being harsh, that can only work so long. And then that's coming around to bite you in parts that you don't want to be bitten on. So it's like, when we can work from a place of compassionately forgiving ourselves, and we're forgiving ourselves for the beliefs, or buying into the beliefs, or buying into the judgments, or buying into the misunderstandings that we took on at various parts of our life in a compassionate way. And as we do that, it's like, I just imagine it's like, and sometimes it's a one and done, and a lot of times it's a practice, right? It's like, I got to keep coming back to this to remind myself that, like, to forgive myself for continuing to buy into those beliefs. Because then what starts to happen is, again, if love is the application, or healing is the application of love, it's like, it just starts to like melt it. It heals. It doesn't just go away. It like dissolves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it is a lot of my work with people. You're right. Sometimes the healing and transformation is quick. And there's no formula. People are like, how long is this going to take? And I'm like,
You're like, I'm not sure how many eons your soul. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
willingness being a big part, like you said.
It is. Yes. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Yes. But I mean, there are people I've been working with for years, and they have other forms of support, outside support therapy or other things as well. And like, I would love to hear your advice for when people get really or remain stuck in a negative mindset, and their negative inner voice is saying things like, I'm just not good with money. I just can't.
Right.
Or on the other, or another example that I'd love to hear your feedback about is, I'm intimidated by my own wealth. Like, they can't stand it.
Right. Right.
How would
Oh,
you
those are
partner
good.
someone like that? I know also the answer isn't simple, but tell me your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like the first thought I had was like, oh, I can't wait to be intimidated by my own wealth. I'm not calling that in. I'm not calling in the intimidation piece,
Right.
and I can appreciate, right. It's also the like, I don't have enough. And then like, now I have a lot and I don't know what to do with it or how to feel about it, or maybe, so again, when we can approach it, my invitation is like for people to first and foremost go, look, on a soul's journey, we don't know timing. We don't know when it's going to shift. It can feel like we're working on similar patterns over and over and again, or they kind of stick with us, or they come back at different variations, or we want to be further along than we are. And so first and foremost, I would just be like, of encouragement of like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do know with intention, with continuing to ask for the willingness. That's one thing that I often say. Like, there was times when with weight stuff, like I'd be like, I want to just please make me want to, because I feel like I should want to, but I don't really want to lose weight. Yeah. And so that would be one thing. It's just first and foremost kind of, and for me, I always bring it back to like, this is partnering with life. If you're not someone that's religious or spiritual, like just even partnering with life, like, okay, life, just universe, whatever, like make me willing to get better with money. If I don't feel willing now, I just ask for willingness. So that's like
really good. Yeah.
Like just ask for willingness, and just to like, and just because you don't feel it today, like opening up to this can shift. Because I know I don't know how it's been for you, but sometimes when patterns stick around for a while, you start to kind of believe like, oh, maybe this is just one of those ones that's just not going to go. It's not.
Yeah. In this lifetime. Yeah.
In this lifetime. Right. Like I've looked at it every which way and it's still here. Maybe I'm just, or I'm frustrated that despite throwing a lot at it, it's not moved yet. Like there's part of me that's like, and can you hold with yet? The word yet, like it hasn't moved yet.
I see.
And it's like, but it's possible. Can you just stay in the possibility and the desire? Because there's also divine timing here. One of the quotes that you and I talked about, like some of my favorite quotes, and there's this, I saw this a couple years ago and it's fascinated me ever since. Don't take down a fence that you do until you know why it's been built. Mm-hmm. And so in psychology, or from spiritual psychology, it's like, look, if I have a pattern of resistance around saving money, let's say saving money, I don't know, or not using my credit card.
Sure.
Somewhere along the line, part of me made a decision, and the best decision I could have at that time, for whatever reason, that credit cards were just like, were there to like support me. I don't know what would be a good way of saying it. Like, but that like somehow it was okay to have debt.
Oh, sure.
Debt was like a safety net.
They're marketed like tools, like credit cards are your friends, like totally normal. Yeah.
Right. So if that's the fence, so like inside of myself, I've set up a definition that like credit cards are there to support me. And I've probably also made a decision that I can't earn enough to have, like, I can't earn enough to have the life that I want, or something like that. So that fence got built. So like, if I just start going like, I'm going to take the credit card away, I'm going to take down the fence, no more credit card. But then I'm like, wait a minute, like that was my safety net. Now all of a sudden I don't have a safety net. Like, and now that part of me is starting to like really get like amped up. And then like, then I just slingshot back to like going into more debt. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because there's a fence, like, but if I can instead like go, oh, there's a fence here. Like I've set up this dynamic inside myself. It's got a loving reason. It thought it was protecting me. It thought, it was here to like create boundaries, but it's not working anymore. Now that I understand why, I have beliefs that like the only way I can have the life that I want is to spend on credit cards. Oh, I can start working on that, healing that belief through compassionate self-forgiveness, through other forms of release work. so now it's safe to take down the fence rather than just taking down the fence and then, nothing's in place to support me.
I see.
So,
Yeah, it's a really powerful metaphor, actually. And also, like you were saying, self-judgment and criticism and being mad or angry at yourself is kind of like taking sledgehammer to the fence. Like it's not gonna work. And that
I'm
is
done with this. I'm done with this pattern. But it's like, wait a minute, like, hold on. There's a more gentle way. And like, let's look, because I had a counselor that I worked with for a while, and he used to say, Donna, we're moving at the pace of safety here. We gotta move at the pace of safety. Like not safety, like I'm gonna sit scared but like really from an authentic place of like, oh, now, because when I move at the pace of safety, then I can move into alignment. It's more gentle. Yes. It creates an experience of like
integration.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Allows me to integrate it because my nervous system is relaxed enough to like take in the new changes. And it's almost like it becomes less efforting then, because, which I'm all about. Yeah. My whole practice is about like, we go, like, we're not here to effort. We're here to attune, align, and allow it to happen. And so same thing when someone's sitting there going, it'll never change. I'm terrible with money. It's like, no. Let's really look at that, and let's like really support you. You haven't been willing to yet, or it's been hard for you up until now is another good statement. Yeah. So yeah. And then what was the other one? Someone's like intimidated by their wealth.
Yeah, like overwhelmed. Yeah. So that can be any form of sudden wealth, like a divorce settlement or an inheritance, or your partner's company went public and you're in another stratosphere now. You have officially left your former or family of origin socioeconomic class.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So again, from a soul-centered perspective, it's like, okay, there's something here for you to learn, and that discomfort is information. Mm-hmm. So it's, to me, again, the way I'd work with that is to have them really talk to from their authentic self. All is neutral and normal and fine. It's fine that much money came in. Yeah. It's not them that's triggered. It's a part of them that's triggered. That's a big distinction that I try to work with people. So when a big feeling like that comes up, like, like you said, do I deserve it? How do I handle it? Or they may have beliefs around like people with money are evil, or I don't know, like all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But you got to first find out. One of the things we'll do is we'll try to mentalize what's going on, but you don't have to. There's actually a much easier way. You just kind of go, if I was looking at that part sitting across from me right now, the part that's really uncomfortable by this, how old is she? Or he, whoever's working. Yeah. And then I'm like, actually look, like, I want you to look in the chair across from you and like, are they 10? Are they like, how are they sitting? Are they sitting like this? Are they like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Like, it's going to give you, and it's weird because people are like, well, how do I know it's true? I'm like, you just go with what's coming up. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do it, So it's like, and what you start to find is it's like, that's part of the soul opportunity is like, because if that part is totally like uncomfortable, she's going to find a way to get rid of that money. That money is going to like all of a sudden be tied up in courts or, like, so one of the ways that we'll work with it is to start to get clear with that part and really start to unpack what's in there. Why is she so scared? And then how do I, as the person who's me now, who's also like, again, the authentic part of me, how do I let her know I've got you? I actually have a lot of resources now that I never had, meaning like, I have a lot of I'm not the same as we were when we were 11. Yes. I know what we're doing. I know a great money coach. I could always call her. I know, like, not people. Right. And so first and foremost is for them to just be compassionate with themselves, that they're even having those feelings. Be like, I may not understand this, but the truth is this is what I'm feeling. So how can I look at this as like, all right, this is here for me. Mm-hmm. It's trying to get my attention so I can work with it. Yeah. And if I can work with it, then I can relax into what's actually occurring. But it's like, she needs to know that like, it's safe. Really, it always ends up coming back to safety. Am I safe? Mm-hmm. Are people going to judge me? Are people going to come and want money from me? What if I can't handle it? What if
Will I
What
be
if
kicked
it
out of
all?
my friend group because,
Right.
yes,
Right. Because all of a sudden I have money.
right.
Or yeah, will I waste it?
Mhm.
Will the tax man be coming for me because
Yeah,
I
will
effed up
make
I didn't
mistakes?
fill out the right form?
I
I
know.
don't know, like so many things. But again, without that, I hear a lot of people then just get like judge themselves like, oh, you struggle with money your whole life and now you're unhappy now you're freaked out. Like that's ridiculous. And that's how people talk to themselves because we think it's a logical process. It's
Right.
like, it's not logical. And yes, you might know better as the adult you are now,
Yeah.
but we're not talking about the adult you are now. We're talking about the part of you that was, came up with these ideas when they were younger. And it's only here so you can clear that so that you can then be where you are in your life and actually enjoy that money that's come in or have a good experience. So to me, it always comes back to, my work's not for everyone. Some people are like, I would never want to sit and talk to that part of myself. And you don't have to, and you can still have a good life.
Right.
But
Right.
that's where I help. When you were talking about wanting people to like, not suffer from their money, it's like, so much of our own suffering comes from how we think and not knowing how to be with ourselves
Right.
when these things come up. And so I give people the skills to do the work with me, but also then they do it with themselves so that they are more at peace, more on their own side, more gentle with themselves, more like easily more happy and more able to like just not be afraid of things because they know how to work with it. So they're more willing to take risks in their life. So
Amazing. You're doing such important work in the world. Thank you for offering your gifts. Wow. I think I'll schedule another session. Um, so can you give us some insight into this? This will be our last question, and then we can wrap up. But some insight into your current practices or any practical things we can do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis for more soul alignment and flow.
Yeah. Well, the one thing the biggest thing for me is that taking a learning orientation to life. Really like, look, life is the more we can align with like life's happening for me, that as these things come up, like just having an approach of like, I'm not a victim. These things, even when and horrible things happen to people. So I'm not trying to minimize that at all. If we're talking about like money as a realm, it's like, okay, this is here for me. I'm here to learn and grow from it. How can I do that on the inner and the outer, just like you're talking about?
Mhm.
I don't have any standard daily practices, but one thing I will go to when I'm really noticing myself being judgmental or critical is that compassionate self-forgiveness.
Yeah.
And just as like a quick example, and I have something that I want to share with your people afterwards, but the gist of so starting from a place of compassion, so trying to locate inside myself first and foremost, like what helps me open my heart? Is it a dog or an animal in my life, cat in my life? Is it a baby that I'm really close to? Just anything that gets your heart to like crack open
Mhm.
or open even just a little bit more, put you in your heart space. And then it's like, we can take the judgments, like identifying what were the judgments that I've been saying. So like for me, let's say the God one. So like recognizing, okay, I have a belief that God didn't choose me or my family wasn't chosen and I'll never be wealthy. So a self-forgiveness would be, I forgive myself for buying into the belief that I will never be wealthy because my family wasn't chosen.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, God is love. God wants me to be happy, and I haven't done anything wrong.
Uh-huh.
So we do the forgiveness, and then we do the truth is statement. And sometimes the truth is statements we don't always fully believe, but it's like, it's a practice, right? Like if I was tuning into what the truth is that is possible,
Mhm.
I want to restate that. And so there will be times where I might be doing compassionate self-forgiveness for 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what's going on, just to get in the space of like, my intention is to release this and heal this. And just want to be a voice of everyone. Everything is shiftable. It doesn't matter how long something's been in place.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
How old
how
you
many
are.
examples. It doesn't matter how old you are, how many examples you have that look like evidence.
Yeah.
I went to the bank with a check that used to be what I earned for my whole life. I left a job that was, 50 hours plus a week, super complex, to creating a coaching practice where I work 15 hours, 20 hours a week, like, and earn more than I did in my job. Like, those things are only possible by adjusting how you're, holding the beliefs inside of yourself. So I just am a voice of reason for you.
That is so amazing. And it's a perfect segue. Donna created something for everyone who's listening, a giveaway that's available. Will you tell us about the exercise and workbook you made for us?
Yes, it's a financial forgiveness mini workbook, and it's based on the compassionate self-forgiveness that I just shared with you. And it walks you through, there's 3 different types of forgiveness statements. There's a video you can watch to really it's about a 10-minute video that shares what really compassionate self-forgiveness is. You get to see me doing more examples. And then it's a workbook that just walks you through. I've created certain examples based on everyday people's already judgments and beliefs they have about money, and then spaces where you can write it out. And anybody that wants it, you can go to my website, and I don't know where Carrie's going to post it, or if I should just say where it is.
But say it again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's www.donnaotmani.com/financial-forgiveness.
Yes, and I will post it everywhere that I share this recording, of course.
Right.
And what else is going on in your business at the moment?
Yes, I work currently one-on-one with clients, depending on when people are listening to this. I'm currently almost at capacity, but I do work with clients one-on-one. As I've shared earlier, this work isn't for anyone. It's a lot of inner work in service to, again, coming to the place where you get to release the things that are keeping you stuck in your life so you can create more peaceful, meaningful, fulfilling life. Clients tend to work with me a minimum of 6 months. I've had some that have worked with me for 5 years. The average person stays about 18 months.
Yeah.
And around that time, we start to find it's becoming more natural way of living and things like that. But one-on-one coaching is where it's at for me right now.
Okay. And how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can just go send me an email, donna@donnaotmani.com, or they can go to my website, and there's a form they could fill out to set up a discovery call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Donna. This was really fun.
Oh my God. Thank you, Carrie. It was a pleasure.
Awesome conversation. And with that, we're out of time. Thank you again for tuning in, and please acknowledge yourself for taking the time today to learn, practice, connect, and receive support about money. I'm Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. You can contact me and learn more about my coaching practice, Personal Finance 101 course, and financial literacy membership site at sfmoneycoach.com. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. I would love to hear from you. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we're out of time. Thank you again for tuning in, and please acknowledge yourself for taking the time to learn, practice, connect, and receive support around money. I am Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. You can contact me and find information about my coaching practice, online course, and financial literacy membership site at SF, as in San Francisco, sfmoneycoach.com. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk soon.